G'day legends, today on 5 Minute Tones I want to give you a very quick taste of the new SansAmp bass driver model in Firmware 30 Beta for the Axe FX3. The real world SansAmp is my favorite piece of bass gear ever. It can take the most ordinary sounding bass DI and turn it into a record ready bass tone. So I've got my late 80s Japanese jazz bass with all the controls cranked up on here. A very fun thing that you can do if you're a guitar player like me and your bass player doesn't want to bring a rig is you can now run this in a parallel chain in your main preset. So I've got my main live preset in here, and we're just going to start out with the SansAmp model, which is called No Amp Bass DI at the stock settings. I've just turned the level down a little bit on here. This is what we get. Now, on the real pedal, my kind of go-to settings, and shout out to the amazing Ryan Rafferty from Ragdoll, because this is how he sets it. I've just seen him kind of turn everything up to about 1 o'clock on here. Now, the SansAmp does have a blend control, which is great if you want to use it as a bass drive or distortion into an amplifier, so you can retain some of the DI sound of the bass. I think using it as a preamp, generally having the blend up all the way or nearly all the way works really well. Let's hear this now. And you can hear I need to change my bass strings because that low E sounds pretty dead on there. Now, this bass doesn't have a lot of output on it, so a fun trick you can use is go to the input block, turn up the output level, say add between 9 and 12 dB of gain. Now, I'm just going to bring the level down on this a little bit because I'm hitting it harder. You'll get a lot more of that drive. And you can get quite a bit of distortion out of this. But I think I like it with the drive a little lower down here. If you want something darker, turn the presence down. If you want something more clicky, have the presence turned up on there. Now, I've recorded a loop with a guitar on the guitar preset, so I can kind of just jam along, and this is a great example of live. You could have your main guitar chain in there, you could have your bass chain at the same time, and then with scene changes, you could automate things by, say, changing the channels on the bass drive right there and adding more gain, or changing up the EQ, adding more level on there. I really like a compressor straight after this. This is a really easy bass DI for live. You could add something like a ring mod or a synth. They have new bass specific tracking modes in there in this update to add some funk, but I'll just crank on a bit of 80s rock in the key of A. Now, since this is a drive block, I'm going to assume that it's going to come to the VP4 at some point as well. There's a model of the Noble bass DI, a tube DI in there as well. I'll put together a Tuesday tone tip for the G66 channel in the next couple of days and go through some of these options, including the funky ring mod, a few other options on there. But I love this. I love having the SansAmp in there. Like I said, with Ragdoll, Ryan, who's the singer and bass player, has been using a SansAmp bass driver since I think about 2012, well before I was going direct. And when he got that, he's like, I'm just going to go direct. I was like, that's illegal. You're crazy. And it's worked so well for so many years. Now, when this trickles down to the FM3 and the FM9, I'm just going to have my main live preset. He's got a bass wireless that can go into, say, input 2 or input 3. Bit of this SansAmp model, bit of compression straight to the PA, and then probably automate it with scenes, say on scene 2, which is my lead scene where I'm a bit louder. We'll make the bass a bit louder. Maybe add a dimension chorus to add some width on there. A little bit of fun to be had with the bass sound. And then he can just show up, plug his wireless into my fractal. I've got my guitar tone with all the scenes. The bass is going to be automated. He can work on playing and singing and doing the really hard job. And I can do the really fun job and play all the greasy guitar tones. See you on the next one.